Hey guys, what is up? NFL Weekly back to you again, and today's video is entitled, Is Cam Newton a Bust? And, well, I think we all kind of know the answer to that question. Yes, he is not a bust, because clearly on September 20th, we have witnessed Cam Newton against the Seattle Seahawks, who, in my humble opinion, are very viable contenders in the NFC title game. Cam Newton put up a serious stat line. We look at 30 for 44, 397 yards, a pick, and a passing touchdown. But that doesn't mention the fact that he also had two, that's right, passing touchdowns, or rushing touchdowns, rather. So we're looking at a guy who's making the game his own. I think Cam Newton did something special tonight. We walk into this game, right? What do we expect? Do we expect a vintage Cam Newton? Do we expect a new Cam Newton? Well, we don't really know what a new Cam Newton is. We're familiar with a Cam Newton that can run, 60 yards a game. They can go off of 8-9 carries at least, get a couple rushing touchdowns. We're familiar with the guy that will have the average really crappy game and throw 3 picks. But what we're not familiar with is a guy that can go up against Jamal Adams, go against arguably the best linebacker core in the NFL, and throw nearly 400 yards and get 2 rushing touchdowns and another touchdown through passing. So what we're looking at is rather a Cam Newton that's making the pocket his own. And that's a special thing to consider because this Patriots team had a quarterback. It had a spectacular quarterback that was so good that all they really needed was him for so long, it seemed like. I mean, they were rotating that wide receiver core. You got guys from Randy Moss in the 2000s all the way to Edelman. But if you're a Patriots fan, if I was a Patriots fan, I would be extremely excited because, look, Cam Newton, yeah, he's getting a little older, but he's also potentially, getting a little better at passing, that is for sure. I will say I didn't expect him to rush for this few of yards. It's not a terrible game rushing-wise for him. 47 yards from a quarterback, I'll take it. But then again, I think we can all agree we might have expected more. Nevertheless, I don't want to take any credit away from Cam Newton. So is he overrated? Is he a bust? No, he's not. He's not a bust. Because, put simply, he saved the New England Patriots against the Seattle Seahawks. And we see the score there, 35-30. This was a game that none of us probably expected to be this close, except for New England fans and maybe a couple fans of the NFC or AFC East, rather, that have seen the wreckage they can do. And quite frankly, Bill Belichick mastered the clock, even though it seemed like he had no possession over it, because Newton was constantly, essentially seemed like Wilson had the ball for most of the game, but we see these stats are pretty impressive. So the point, Cam Newton obviously is good at what he does, and I don't want to take any credit away from this amazing quarterback. But here's the question we all got to ask ourselves, We saw Stephon Gilmore get smoked. We saw that defense look pretty busted up. 35 points against one of the better, but not amazing defenses, rather one of the better defenses. The question we got to start asking ourselves is, as you see on your screen, this Petty Piranha double, right? This is Cam Newton as we know him. He's like 6'5", massive Goliath. Can he carry this team to the next level? And I sort of liken it to sort of a droid army. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Star Wars Episode 1 through 3, the prequels and whatnot. Jar Jar, this is kind of a side note. Don't want to get too far into it for those of you out there that are closet nerds. You might be interested, but Jar Jar is obviously a dark Sith Lord. But other than that, what we're looking at is sort of a droid army mentality. And I think what you're looking at is essentially Bill Belichick's mission. Bill Belichick has created a team that is so centered around its gravitational strength, Cam Newton. And whether you want to admit it or not, he's essentially creating the team around him. It's becoming more of a ground game. It's becoming more of a rushing attack. He knows when to utilize Cam Newton in the end zone, in the red zone, and whatnot in that matter. And he also knows when to say, Cam Newton, throw the freaking ball, because you got the talent, you got the ability to do so. However, back to the point, the droid army you see before you is essentially what Bill Belichick has created on both sides of the ball, because the droid army, Bill Belichick says, do your job. And if you had to ask me what droids do, they do their job, right? Put your hands in the air, Jedi. That's essentially what the droids are trying to get the point across as. And Bill Belichick says the same exact thing to his teammates, which in turn forces it on the offenses that he goes against. What does this have to do with football? Absolutely nothing. back to what we were saying. Cam Newton, yeah, he's not a bust. He's actually one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And the fact that, what Russell Wilson had a spectacular game. Let's not take any credit away from this potential MVP candidate. You don't often see 288 yards and 5 touchdowns back to back. That's just what he does. That's called being clutch. That's called taking the best advantage you can over field position. And he did get an odd interception, and the ball could have been thrown a little bit better, but all in all, that probably wasn't Russell Wilson's fault. So what do I take away from this game if I were a New England fan? I would take away the fact that, yeah, newsflash, Cam Newton is not a bust. He's coming in hot, and this team is one of those teams that just gets hotter as the year goes by. It's still really early. I would not worry whatsoever. But what I would say is, this guy right here, Cam Newton, is probably, if he gets hot enough, he could be dangerous. He could be not just dangerous like he is now, but he could be on another level. We'll see how Bill Belichick utilizes Cam Newton. On the other side of the ball, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, you're probably excited because they just won a game and they're 2-0. But, there's a lot of good teams in the NFC. You can't get too cocky. I mean, you got New Orleans, you got a handful of other teams. I'm not even going to bother to mention because we all know who they are. And it's going to be a long road, but we'll see what happens. Wilson is one of the best in the world as far as quarterbacks go, in the NFL, that is. And like the droids always say, Roger, Roger. So take care, guys.